Pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. I'm gonna give everyone a second to get in here. I think we're gonna be launching the website tomorrow, so I'm really excited. It sounds like today will be ready, but I want to really make sure we're ready, so I'm gonna be launching it tomorrow or Friday. I would imagine tomorrow, but I'm really stoked. So we'll be able to gather a lot of our leads and everything for you guys. It's gonna be pretty sweet. Maybe let's go like right there. Perfect. Yeah, so we have lead gen, CRM, every calculator, full resources, quizzes, everything, like literally everything you can need. Buyer platform, deal marketplace. It's looking very full, very good. Let me see this. Yeah, I'm gonna analyze the deal before we get started here. Kara, I just looked at your deal. I think it might be good for a Morby method too. The capital stack situation. It looks like a good capital stack. Let's see. So I got the gist. He wants about 53,000 down, so it might be a little difficult. But so we're at 99,000. So in these scenarios too, you can get this purchase price down a little bit because they're going to be getting interest. Don't like sub 2 for it. So he currently owes 47. And I mean, his PITI is great. If he would allow a sub 2, this would be awesome. And you can also tell him. So I'm going to run through this whole thing. I'm going to take out your address here so nobody sees it. So right here, what I'm looking at. So 3 bed, 1.5. Brick house is huge. All the buyers I talked to in this area really wanted brick houses for some reason. So brick is great. 3 bed, 1.5 bath, 1,100 a month. You believe 1,200. I say conservative for underwriting. We'll underwrite at 1,100. Owes 47. I'm sure he wants to cash out some money. Current loan rate is 4.25. His equity position is roughly 5,300 if we were using the 99,999 asking price. So number one, first, right when I read this, it's like if he has all these demanding terms where he's like, hey, it's going to be a higher interest rate, this, that, the other, we can negate the interest rate with purchase price. So essentially get the principal balance lower and then give him the interest rate he wants. That will lower our monthly costs anyhow because our principal balance is lower. Seller's main concern is he does not want to sell subject to unless he's cashed out of all of his equity. If he cannot get the 53,000 down to cash him out, then you'd want a higher interest rate to protect the equity he leaves in the deal. So essentially what we're going to in my mind, there's 3 different routes we can do. First of which being straight up capital stack and get all of his equity out of there. So I would, let's say, you think it'd be worth 115 or so, I believe let's go with 115 then. 115. He wants to cash out at basically 50% for the equity, but he wants all of his money. So he has a loan though. That the loan is the biggest portion we have to worry about. We have to get rid of that loan and then we have to come in and figure out this situation with him. So 1,100. I'm going to assume insurance, property taxes. I'm going to assume insurance is 100, property tax probably 145. So we are at a negative cash flow in this structure here, and that's with 0% on the seller finance loan, and that's with him not even getting cashed out. So if we go up to, and let's go. So we don't want to over leverage too much. Yeah, so my opinion, capital stack is not going to work, which brings me over to a hybrid scenario. A little bit different. 110. What do we say? Let's say 145, 10, 10, 5. We're all good there. And their mortgage balance 425.97. 425.97. Interest rate, I think he said 4.25. Doesn't matter that much. But what he owes matters the most. So he owes about 47,000. Okay, so we are negative cash flow within this structure at a 4% 30-year amortization, which is just what I had on here. So we're losing money. Cash on cash gets even lower once we add our assignment in. He is going to want carry as little as possible. Let me see sub 2. Sub 2 works much better, but we would need yeah, so we got to go hybrid. I think what we'd say is we look at $90,000 purchase price. We give him 10% down. So then he's only carrying 34%. We give him 5% interest and try to, I mean, even then that's so low. Like that is such a low monthly amount. The loan is tiny, 34K after a down payment. I mean, who the hell wants 180 bucks a month? And then our buyer who wants to not cash flow. I mean, even if it's 1,200 a month, we're only at $47 a month cash flow. Do you mind if I pull up the address or would you want me to keep that private? I cannot share my screen. Go ahead on address. Okay, thank you. He isn't stuck on the 50. He just wants a higher interest rate if lowered. Okay. Okay. I'm just gonna pull this up real quick and run. Did you check the zip code? Is the zip code good? These Memphis buyers, man, they're killing me. They've got no activity on this. So, Cara, the appraisal's gonna come in lower. So we're at 78 days and no activity and a price cut last March. And appraisal's gonna come in lower on this. And I think we have to be able to get that. I mean, they've dropped price 20 grand. So we have to be prepared to tell them that and say, hey, this is, this is the scenario is we're not going to appraise or we have to go creative in terms of the solution. What are you realistically okay with to walk away from this house? We take over the loan and give you monthly payments. What does that look like for you? And then once we are able to refinance, we can refinance and get you out of this. So structuring wise, I mean, what's his terms of high interest rate? And because it doesn't cash flow, or why it doesn't cash flow here is because we have two payments. If this was just straight up sub two, it cash flows $229 a month. But we have all this equity that we have to work with them on. So there's two routes I can see going is saying, hey, no monthly payments, allow us the cash flow, allow us to get us a renter in here, make some money on it, prove that it's worth $125,000, $130,000, and then we'll go and refinance you out in 5 to 7 years and take no payments until that 5 to 7 year mark. Or we have to focus on cash flow. And our cash flow aspect of this is simply going to be we can really only afford to give you $100 a month. Or you can be hard nosed negotiating and say, hey, it's not worth 99. We don't even believe it's worth 90. We think it's worth more like 75,000. And 75,000 at that point for a hybrid, we're able to say, the same exact thing we would be saying, but it improves our cash flow on the other end. Cash flow a ton. It's not going to appraise. No matter what he says or what the market says, it's sat on the market 80 days and we have a $20,000 price cut. There's no way it appraises for 120, 115, 110. It won't even appraise for 99. It just won't. So there could be a few different reasons why it wouldn't. Maybe the photos aren't doing the property justice in terms of, or the photos look better than the property and people are walking the property and finding issues with it. They don't like it. I think it looks like a cute property. I don't think anything's wrong with it. Me personally, what I would be doing is selling this to him as a wrap concept. Find a way to explain what a wrap is to them, which is just a hybrid like what we're talking about and saying, hey, your interest rate's 4.25. What if I'm able to go find a buyer at 6% and we give them a low down payment and then we find a residential buyer instead of an investor buyer and then cash flow doesn't matter. We collect a portion of the down payment, he collects the interest rate and we set him up like that. Personally, that's what I would do. Is sell it as a wrap to somebody who needs a home but doesn't qualify for a down payment. And then it doesn't matter. The cash flow doesn't matter. The only amount of cash flow that matters is the sellers. That's where I would go with it. I don't like it for an investor. It just doesn't make money. It's a cute house. He did a good job on renovations. I want to see the spot crime real quick. But there are investors doing this right now. The wraps, I actually have a buyer who might consider it because he's going to turn around and wrap it. So if we're able to take over the sub 2 and do it as a wrap, we have a good situation here. Or wrapping to a residential buyer is going to be just about anybody's exit strategy on this. Whereas it's not going to be rent, it's going to be selling it at a low down payment and having the monthly payments be $1,800, which gives us, if we can get it to like $1,750. Somebody makes $500 a month on a lease option or rent to own option and makes a solid amount of money, and then they're able to get into a house with a low down payment. So I would assume that's going to be the best exit strategy for this one. That's what it looks like. I'll look at cash in a second. I just want to pull up this neighborhood real quick. So guys, this is what I was going to cover today. This is rough. Yikes. That's not a good area. This is probably why it's not selling. Let me quickly buy boxes. Yeah, that's rough. That's rough. What's this one? 38127, 38122, 38113, no. 125. Yeah, so he doesn't buy in the zip code. I could send it to him and see if he's interested. It does look like a good wrap purchase. So cash deal, they're at 99,999. We'll just go over to this calculator real quick. Actually, I'm just going to do it ourselves. I already got all the stuff in here. 20% down. We want, I mean, it doesn't work at that number as a cash investment. I would imagine most cash buyers are going to want it around at least 60K, probably lower. It's still not a huge, yeah, and then we have our interest rate. It's not a huge return financially. The biggest thing is it's turnkey. So yeah, a wrap sell to residential. Me personally, I would probably pick up the sub 2 myself and then wrap it myself. But this guy is, I would just pitch it to him as him being the wrap. He does the wrap. You collect your fee out of the down payment. He gets the interest rate that he wants, but he's not going to be able to turn and sell this to an investor. So what I would say to him is pitch it like that's his purchase price. He gets a $10,000 down payment, and then he gets $300 a month. So he cash flows $300 a month on the property. He gets all of his equity in 5 years, 10 years, what have you. That's best advice I can give on that deal. The area, number one, I would imagine is going to be a good clientele for someone who has 5-10% to put down on a house. They don't have a full 20% and they don't qualify for FHA. And then turn around and explain how he can make money on the interest rate and how you'll be the person who finds a buyer for it. Does that help? All good? I'm assuming you're good. All right, guys. Episode 3 today. Yesterday, to recap a little bit. Well, first 2 days we'll go over. Day 1 was really focusing on where to get started in terms of mentality and actionable steps to get operating correctly early. It largely was, hey, build out a time block, fill out a system, create your system right away in terms of your weekly check-in, the way you're going to track your data, and then hit the phones and learn how to underwrite, right? So my biggest advice was first 2 weeks, don't underwrite on the phones. Underwrite after you have the phone call. Work on your voice, figure out what works for you in terms of your pitch, the way you discuss, your terminology knowledge, and then time block a portion of your day strictly for underwriting. If you're unsure of how to underwrite, you should be reaching out to people who know, whether it be a community leader, whether it be someone in a community, someone you know who is doing it daily, understands how numbers work together, and can help you. Day 2 was taking all that and saying, okay, now I have an understanding of underwriting. I have an understanding of how to be on the phone. I know where my voice resonates the most. Now it's time for me to create my brand, focus on my niche, and focus on how I communicate, not just the ability to communicate. So yesterday we came out with a brand. We had some core values that we all discussed and voted on. We decided, what was it? Let's see if I can remember it off the top of my head. Innovation, service, and integrity were our core values. We wrote out a mission statement saying essentially that we're here to help buyers, sellers alike by leading with the transparency, empathy, service, in a creative way, a solution-based manner. So we built that out. We decided to call it Blueprint Acquisitions, I believe. So I want to go a little bit over color palettes, not a ton, but how your branding can resonate and stand out versus other brands and the way other people are presenting themselves. We talked a lot about verbiage and LOIs and the way it comes across, whether it's in a PDF or in an email, or, if it's urgent, am I going to call and review over the phone as they're reading the email, and all these different little things that you can do to stand out and get answers right away. Make sure you're not wasting your time or anyone else's. And then most importantly, how you're representing your brand throughout every instance of the deal. So your tonality, the way you check in, the way you follow up, it's all going to come back to those same systems and processes that I was talking about day 1, where you're creating a system day 1, right? You're saying, hey, I'm going to track things this way. I'm going to set reminders this way. I'm going to communicate this way, and I'm going to make sure it represents my brand. Your brand is everything you decided in terms of core value, your mission statement, and essentially just a standard that you're going to want people to know you for. So my biggest caveat or piece of advice overall in that is make sure it's natural to you and make sure it's unique. The difference with mine, that I've seen stand out is how I present my information. It's very thorough. It's usually quick and easy to read. I don't want a buyer to read a pitch deck and it take them 15 minutes to figure it out. I want it to be page 1, here's your numbers. Page 2, here's why it works. Then contact me. Easy way to contact, easy way to schedule with me. Ease of use and efficiency are going to be a lot of these big players biggest things in their life and their day and their workflow. You have to respect their time, so creating your system that automatically respects their time, automatically prioritizes their schedule, it ends up putting you in the forefront because it's easy to use, you're easy to work with, you have everything, all your checks and balances there. So let's dive into now just generating color palettes, logos. We're only going to touch on brand for a little bit just because I want to dive into other things like lead gen and deal analyzing and underwriting and stuff like that, all the meat and bones of wholesaling. So color palette for something called blueprint, I would probably mimic a blueprint in terms of how we want things to appear. I think it's a really awesome concept for a website. I think it's really easy to brand this one out. So I was like, hey, we could probably knock it out really quick. Personally, I just use AI to create my logos. There's a bunch of different services, and then just purchase the rights to it and then run free with it. So we're going to do cutting edge style logo, unique and easy to recognize. It is for a real estate acquisition wholesaling company. The company is called Blueprint Acquisitions. Our color palette, I think for Blueprint, I would late navy blue and silver. Blueprint, obviously, we're kind of limited with colors. It'd be really weird if your Blueprint, your logo is red. Red and gold wouldn't make sense. Or blue is you're kind of setting yourself right there. Another piece yesterday that we covered was looking at what colors mean and how they make people feel and how it can convey your brand, your core values, your marketing, and all that stuff. You can look up words. So your core values, say you have innovation, security, service, innovation, service, and integrity, right? You can look up what colors represent those words. And then you can also look up your industry and look up the most utilized colors in the industry. And you might not always want to be the top 3 colors. You might want to be the bottom half to stand out. So applying all this and looking at what makes the most sense, it's very easy to do, and most branding and companies already do this. You don't even really notice it. Like a wildlife conservatory, it's usually going to be green, yellow, or orange. You know what I mean? A bright, earthy color. And then you have, brands like a law firm. You're going to have maroons, you're going to have gold, you're going to have black, where they want to come off a little bit more sleek and come off a little more elevated and fancy and luxurious, you know what I mean? So you're going to have a variety of different things. If you go down to Florida and you open up a restaurant, very likely you're going to have ocean blues, yellows, greens, pinks. You open a barbecue joint, it's likely going to be red or orange with flames, black, silvers, you know what I mean? So you can easily think of all these different industries and come up with a certain brand, and then automatically your brain associates a color with it. That's all you're doing right here. So that is unique and easy to recognize, like Nike. It is for a real estate acquisition wholesaling company. The company is called Blueprint Acquisitions. Our color palette is going to be slate blue and silver. I'm going slate blue. It's an easy color. It's easy going. It can be a little bit cold, but it also comes off as elevation as well, especially when you mix it with a color like silver. And then I'm just going to go based off my gut of what feels really good to look at. It's kind of, first rendition here. You guys can tell me what you feel about it. Blueprint Acquisitions. There we go. So it has the silver, blue. To me, the blueprint doesn't stand out enough. I do like the chart and such. I think it's very typical. This feels very typical. Add more depth and texture. I want a logo that stands out immediately and doesn't look like other real estate companies' standard logos. Exactly what I would expect it to make on the first go. You have your little chart, which can also be looked at like buildings or city. The B I actually like. Blueprint, it doesn't stand out to me. It's blue on blue. That doesn't stand out. If I look at it really quick, it's not popping out at me. Acquisitions pops out at me, which kind of pushes me away a little bit. So you can pay people to do logo generation as well, guys. If you really, really want a crazy unique one, you want a branding PR team to do it, or, branding specialist, what have you, they'll go in and do this stuff. But me personally, I think it's just tweaking until it's the way you really want. That's cool. Okay, I really like the font. I really like that font. This to me looks more like software, like tech. The logo itself feels a bit too much like a software company and not a real estate venture. I like the direction you are going in with the font. Let's focus up on something more unique and less gimmicky. It's okay for it to look like a real estate business. Let's just, it kind of made like software, like it looks like a blueprint software that, maybe a architect would use. So it kind of lost me there, but I do like it. I like the font. The font's nice. Like it, love it, hate it. I didn't realize I put my water bottle. Do you guys like Catalyst's logo? Like the logo I made? Computer's gonna crash from this. This one. Let's check what it made here. Okay, that's pretty nice. I actually like that. But it kind of looks like ChatGPT made it. Everyone else did it. Okay, now remove the background entirely. And let's just focus on the logo. It's a bit too shiny and it's cool, but it won't work because it's too like 3D. It's too much depth. That's not going to translate well to a website. It's not going to translate well to anything other than a photo, really, or an image. So the usability on this isn't huge. It's kind of, you're kind of limited here, which a lot of people will limit themselves with their logo. See, yesterday I posted a bunch of examples. Go down it, sweet. Yeah, I feel like we kind of hit a home run with Catalyst. I'm pretty surprised overall how well it worked. Yeah, so you guys have logo resources and people able to do them. If that were me, I would relay what I want to those people and let them just run free until they hit a product that I like. Let's see. Okay, this is pretty nice. I actually really like this. What do you guys think? Thoughts? I think it could be a little bit cleaned up here. There's some areas that are overlapping a little bit. I like how the blueprint comes through. I like the B. I think it would look good on an LOI. That's something I'm really thinking about, especially, if I was just starting out, who's going to see it? It's going to be on my email chain. It's going to be on my LOIs, and it's eventually going to be on my website that I create for lead generation, right? Clean it up a bit more, focus on sleek, and get creative with it. No background, please. Let's see what it does. Version, I want to see it elevated a bit more. Lead gen and all that other stuff. Yeah, you can always tweak it more later. I've gone through about 15 versions of our logo personally, and then I create different versions of it for different things as long as it has the premise of my brand. Yeah, Claude is good. I used Claude a bunch today. I'm at my max and I'm refusing to pay for it. I'm done with. Dude, we need to cap AI and leave it alone. Like even our Pope is saying it. I'm really worried about AI, to be honest with you. I said the water intake and everything is just absurd right now as I'm using it to generate logos for a fake business, mind you. But whatever. If you can, while we're waiting real quick, go hit up all my socials. Give me a like and a follow, please. I'm going to be launching the YouTube this week, so I really need some support there. That's my link me. If you copy and paste it, you can find all my socials and stuff. Go subscribe to the YouTube. I'm going to be posting a bunch today and tomorrow. Yeah, I like it. I like AI for getting you there, like 90% of the way there. So this logo I have here, I used AI for maybe like the concepts, and then I had someone go in and build it out for me to get to the point where I liked it. All right, I like that. It's not much different than that, but it's a little bit cleaner, a little bit sharper edges. All right, cool. So looking at this, maybe I wouldn't always include the font. Maybe I would just have the logo on my LOIs because my brand name is going to be the LLC that I'm working in, and that's going to be the entity name on the form. So maybe I would just throw a logo up on there. But I think this works really well. It lends to scaling. It looks good. It's pretty unique. It looks nice. It gets the name across. Is while you're in your branding conversations, whether it be with yourself, with AI, with family, friends, a mentor, a specialist, whoever, the biggest thing is you're really going to want to keep referring to who you are, what your idea of your business is going to be. Not, oh shit, not in a week, but down the road, a year down the road, 6 months down the road, whatever. Make sure that they know who you are now and who you are aiming to be, because that logo, that representation is really important early on. You're setting a foundational groundwork for your business, and it's important to get that out right away as soon as you can. All your LOIs, this, that, the other. You can always tweak it, you can always grow it. Don't box yourself in, but make sure that you're communicating what your intentions are with it as well. All right, I'm gonna stop screen sharing for 1 second. we're going to dive into a little bit of lead gen techniques and what's the word I'm looking for? Analysis, quick analysis tools, I'll say. So obviously, you guys can use AI. I have our chat bot. I will get you 80% of the way there with underwriting, all these things. You can use our website. You can use a whole amount of tools, but truthfully, you got to be able to check it. So it's always going to come back to how good are you actually at underwriting the numbers and understanding how they work with each other. So today's not going to be a full underwriting video where I go through 8 different deal types and say, hey, this is how it works, this is how it doesn't work. But we're going to talk about scenarios that where understanding how price, interest, amortization, the actual gravity of what you're sharing can be communicated in a way that gets people to say yes versus getting people to say no. So I want to go over a lot of rejection language today, what you get told by people when you offer something and it's like, no, we're not going to do it. So verbiage that you're using on the phones in regards to your underwriting, in regards to your pitch, in regards to just basically your analyzation of the deal and how coming off a certain way can actually push you away from the deal just by saying something one way versus another. And then also, like I said earlier, understanding what you're actually saying. So you can't really find a different way to say something unless you understand what you're saying. So in our 1, 2, 3, 4 episode, 5 episode, 1 week, whatever schedule, if someone were to be following this, they would understand terminology. They would understand how, purchase price, interest rate, amortization, interest only, principal only sort of payments all work together. And then also, we're having to understand that we have other ongoing costs in terms of management that we're calculating for our buyers. So we have 10% CapEx, 10% management, 5 to 8% on vacancy. If you're underwriting commercial units, typically you're at a 40 to 50% expense cost monthly. So I'm expecting that you know all this stuff while I'm talking about today, and I want to preface that so I don't have to keep going back and explaining what I mean. I'm assuming you understand how to underwrite. You've taken 2 weeks to do it. You really learned it. You've seen different deal types and you're thinking creatively. So really quick, if you guys can what I want to do is instead of talking about underwriting each deal, I want to say, hey, here's a deal type, and you guys give me the most common objections you get from agents or sellers regarding those deal types. And I want to work in how I would explain either underwriting, analyzing the property, or not analyzing, discussing the process of the deal with the seller or the agent. So firstly, let's just do cash offers. All right, so cash offer objections, let's hear them. Cash offer objections, guys, are always going to be the simplest. Now, where things get sweet, yeah, okay. So a few things I want to preface in this. Think about the market. Always think about the market. You're going to have a few different puzzle pieces you can force to fit in these scenarios. Number one, first thing I look at is the market. And then I look at how the sale is performing, how the listing is performing, right? So I'm going to look at the listing and see how it's performing. If it's 2 weeks, 4,000 saves on Zillow, there goes a lot of my leverage. If it's 200 days and 8 saves on Zillow, there's a lot of leverage. There's a lot of opportunity in that. And there's a lot of ways to go through objections here and solutions you can go through that aren't always the price. So seller won't go lower than X. Would they if we waive inspection? Would they if we can close in 2 weeks, right? So I would like to give it it's listed for not going lower than 20K. So if we're reverse wholesaling and we have a buyer who is able to do 2-day inspection or 0-day inspection, they just have to go walk the house real quick themselves. They know what they're doing. And assuming we're reverse wholesaling, because that's literally the premise of Catalyst Global in terms of wholesaling, you guys have more leverage than other wholesalers, and you are able to waive inspection periods if you're going under contract with the buyer already at the table on day one, which I've seen this. I accepted an offer because of this that was lower than my list price on a property that I own free and clear. But the guy was like, I'll waive inspection. And I was like, okay. You want an $8,000 discount? It's yours. You're waiving inspection, great. Because it's one less, it's certainty. You know what I mean? So always looking at it as, hey, what if we can waive inspection? What if we can close in 2 weeks? What if we put down more of an EMD to make sure you know? It's not always a term of price, it's a term of security within performance. So cash offer, that's really what you're looking for. Yeah, it's always going to revolve around too low, right? So what you're looking for is security within your offer. What if they're still listed in 2 months? How does 60K look versus 80 that they're listed at? And also, if you're working directly with a seller, you guys, in these situations, and you're not talking to an agent, you're talking direct to seller, you can ask them, well, what would you list if you were to list with an agent tomorrow? Oh, I'd list for $98,000. Okay, well, you're a seller, and let's say it's in Atlanta. You know what I mean? Just off the top of my head. Let's say it's in Atlanta. All right, selling side typically covers both commissions, so you're looking at 5 to 6%. And then on top of that, you're looking at running the risk of going on market and not selling at that number. What if we were able to get it done in 2 weeks, waive inspection, and save you from all the headaches and even having to test the market? Seller is typically going to be like, all right, you know what I mean? Hey, we don't need someone to come in and take all the photos. We don't need listing agreements. We don't need this. We can get it done in 2 weeks. How do you feel? Just have to send one guy over there. Yes, 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 no, no. That right there is going to be a great way to handle that objection, because most sellers are typically going to feel like their house is worth more than it is, but time and less money is going to push them back towards you. You just have to remind them of it and ask them the right questions to get them to realize that as well alongside it. Otherwise, I mean, what can you really do? Another objection you guys didn't say was, we've had higher offers. Why should we take yours? I'm curious what you guys answer to that one, because I hear it all the time. It's like, oh no, we've had higher offers than that. There's no way the seller will go for it. There's 2 follow-up questions I usually ask when I get told that. I'm curious what you guys say. Agent or the seller says, I've gotten higher offers, I'm not interested. What do you say? That's a discovery question. That's one of the questions I ask. Well, why didn't you take it? Because they're going to tell you what terms are most important to them when they answer that question. I'm just letting you guys type. I want today to be interactive today. I'll stream. Yes. Yesterday was boring. It was me talking a bunch. Ready for my answer? You guys are typing a while. I'll let you guys type. Go ahead and answer. So, why didn't they take the other offer? I don't love that, Donna. It puts the ball in their court too much. You're allowing them to control the conversation with that. Whereas you already know all that stuff. You know the information, you know what the performance is. You're essentially writing CMAs all day, right? You're doing market analysis and applying it to the home all day long. So you know, right? So now it's getting them to know, not giving them control in the conversation. So, okay, Shad, I like that. I like that. I'm usually not even going to ask the price. I don't really care, because I know what number works for us. I know what number works for us. So why didn't you take the other offer? And is that offer still on the table? Is that offer still on the table allows me to pivot the conversation back into me really quick. If they say yes, I can say, well, you should probably take that offer. Based on what I know, this is where I'd be at. I'm not telling them their number doesn't work. I'm saying what works for me. And then on top of that, if they say, well, it's not, then I could say, so I'm your highest offer right now. So I am your best offer. Do you think that reflects what's going on with your property right now? And maybe you should have said yes when it came in, because typically they're going to say no, trying to hold out for a longer offer. Right now in our market, the longer you wait, the worse it gets, right? So they're going to hold out. And our offers, realistically, if they're on market over 60 days at this point, our offers are going to be their best offer they're getting at the moment. So letting them realize, all right, it's not on the table anymore. Why do you think it's not on the table anymore? Is it because of you, or is it because of them? Here's what I can do. And always referencing back to what you're able to offer, what you're able to do. Yeah, it might sound a little pushy or bullheaded, but you'd be surprised how many people call you back 2 weeks later and be like, well, is your offer still on the table? Because they sit and they get lowballed by other people. And if we're coming in with buyers in place, buyers vary, guys. Like Cara, we were working on a deal. We had a buyer say no more than 70K. We had another buyer say no more than 95K. We had another buyer who was like, hey, my all-in number is 110. So if you're coming in with multiple buyers, multiple avenues to get this things sold, you'd be surprised. We can be more competitive than other wholesalers if you are doing a good job at retaining buyers and keeping buyers at the forefront of your business. So it's going to always lead you back to reverse wholesaling. I know most of the stuff I say, I'm like, well, if you're reverse wholesaling, you don't have that problem. If you're reverse wholesaling, you have this, and this available to you. This is a situation where you have that. So we're in a long-term listing and they're not getting the offer they want. Now, if they're okay with holding, you're probably not going to sell it. But more often or not, if you're coming in with a buyer, you're able to waive certain things, you're able to move in a certain way that other wholesalers aren't, you're already putting yourself in a better position. And then looking at where the numbers lie, some buyers are going to be able to buy at 80 cents on the dollar versus 60 to 70 cents on the dollar like other buyers do. So keeping that all in mind and using those things as tools and negotiations to handle your objections. And most importantly, always controlling the conversation, whether or not they feel like they're controlling it. You wanna watch how you word things so you can stay in control and always push things back to the winning side for you. Yeah, knowing what buyers want up front, it's dude, so much power to you, right? All right, let's do seller finance. Seller finance objections. These are my favorite, absolute favorite, especially now because there's so many ways you can pivot seller finance. Ryan, I feel like you're going to know most of my tricks on this. Okay. Seller doesn't want to carry. Okay. Seller wants to get rid of the property entirely. You are. You're selling me the home. Letting them understand this is still a sale. No, that's not what I mean. We want the full price. I get it. Totally understand. But how does making 20% more sound to you over the course of X amount of years? Is that something that would work? Is monthly payments, you making $1,100 a month, $800 a month for the next 10 years? Does that sound like something that would better your life or make it worse? Asking the questions that point to the result rather than the headache of what might be definitely works a lot better for me, at least, where I've been like, well, yeah, of course you want full price, but that's not what we're discussing right now. We're discussing seller finance and getting to a point of, well, does $900 a month with 30,000 up front, does that sound like something that you can make work? Understanding their and putting it into a monthly scenario in terms of actual income definitely can shape it a little bit differently. And you'll usually see them loosen up a little bit and be like, I'll take it to them and see what they think, because it's not necessarily a bad thing. And then also in that gives you an opportunity to remind them of other securities that we put in place, deed in lieu of foreclosure, where essentially, hey, we don't pay you in X amount of days. We can have this set up where you keep everything and you get to keep the house, and then you're right back to where you started, but with 30 grand in your pocket, 20 grand in your pocket, whatever the down payment is. You're turning and saying, just for trying, if we fail, you make money and you're right back in the scenario you are right now, and you can sell the house full price. So there's a lot of pivots in one objection there for just seller wants to get rid of the property entirely. Well, you defer taxes, one. Two, you get a monthly payment. How does that add up into your life? Does that change things for you? It should. You now have an income. $800 a month. Now you can qualify for a lot more than you were on your credit. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about tax deferment, the actual benefits of seller finance and why it'll always be around. It'll never leave, and why so many investors will always love it. So that same response is going to be the response for seller doesn't want to do seller finance, which you could say I totally understand. Some people want to be the bank, some people want to pay the bank. I think telling them that can also pivot it a little bit, where it's, hey, you're becoming the bank, you're becoming the person who wins. But usually when they don't want to do seller finance, they are pretty cut out on it. But again, securities and all the different things that you can push in front of them definitely sways the bar a little bit. They need the money to move. How much? I mean, you have to ask it right away. How much? If they say all of it, then all right, they need all of it. Like that's the case. Some people are truthfully in situations where they need every last dollar on the property to do something. Totally understand it. But if they're like, and you don't have to ask how much directly. You could say, well, how big of a house are they planning to get? And then, oh, well, their family grew. They need 2,000 square foot house. Oh, all right, awesome. Oh, good for them. Now you go look at average prices for a 2,000 square foot house. You look at down payments from a conventional to a just straight up 20% down loan, and then you have an idea of how much they need. Does that fit into your scenario? Does it then fit into a creative capital stack scenario? And you're able to pivot there if that number works out. Because for me personally, hey, I need the money to move. Well, how much do you need to move? I need 60 grand. Okay, what if we gave you 80, and then on top of that, you're making $1,000 a month? Don't you think that would really help your move? You have the down payment and half your mortgage right there. and now you make the money that you're making, don't you think that majorly impacts your life in a positive way? That's the reality of it. So you're speaking on the results of the deal and what it looks like, again, on a monthly basis for them. It's not a lot of people have thousands of dollars, hundreds of dollars just coming into their bank account monthly. What they do have is a job and a household and expenses. So you're pitching it as income. They want more upfront, no payments. I mean, how much more upfront? No payments. You're out of any world other than buying in cash or financed, not seller finance, like bank backed financing. So you're in a different scenario there. They want more upfront. I mean, you pivot to capital stack and you say, all right, well, if I can give you more upfront, 30, 40, 50, are you willing to work with me on interest payments and everything else? This is investment property. I need to make sure that if I am putting so much forward that I get something back in return. If not, totally understand. Then you're kind of at a standstill and you got to embrace the no and leave your offer on the table. 50% down. Sweet, we can do it. Same thing. Are you going to work with us on the monthly payments? We can do capital stack right then and there. At that point, you just ask, hey, if I'm putting that much down, I want to keep it protected. I would like to be put into a trust with the seller and have the ability to get a loan out on the property if needed. Then you just set up everything with the capital stack, go in, and you're good. Or a surprise, they happen to have a loan on it. Capital stack, hybrid, instant pivot. Can I capital stack, get rid of your loan, and then you carry the rest? Or can I take over your loan and you carry your equity? What about the interest isn't high enough, but I'm willing to work on the monthly payment. You change amortization. So you give them the 6% interest they want, but you change the amortization and you just ask for a longer balloon because that's how numbers are all working together, right? So if we're at 30-year amortization at 5%, they want 6%. 30-year AM works at 5% as your monthly cash flow. Let's just round numbers here. Let's say it's $500 payment a month. They want more interest. They want more paid out at the end. I say, all right, well, can we work on the monthly payment? $500 really works for me. What if I give you more interest, but it's just not coming in terms of monthly? It's coming in terms of life of the loan. And then you explain, hey, I'll bump it up 6%, but I need to keep that monthly payment around 500. Will you work with me on amortization? So at the balloon, you still get that interest you want. You're just only getting $500 a month, and we're capping the monthly payment towards everything going on. That's a little bit more complex in terms of explaining it, but there are really simple ways to say, hey, we're just scheduling payments at $500 a month. You're charging me 6% interest, but I'm only paying 5% interest monthly. At the balloon, here's the difference. 5% interest, it would be you profit 100K and 10 years. 6% interest in 10 years, you profit $112,000. You explain that to them like that, where you're still getting your interest. I'm just allowed to cash flow. Do you see how understanding underwriting really affects how you're able to change your objections into solutions? Oh, I need 50% down. Okay, I understand my underwriting. I know most sellers or most buyers are not going to want to put 50% down. But with a capital stack structure, sure. All right, so pivot to capital stack, go into my underwriting, underwrite a capital stack deal, and send the offer and revise it. This is me working with the seller to get them what they want. And then understanding how the results of what you're doing. Hey, you need a monthly income, you need a little bit of money. Here you go. Here you go. Both the things are right here. This is what you're telling me you need, but you think the grand solution is the solution. Sell the house, be done with it. I understand that. We're not in that scenario if I'm offering seller finance. If I'm offering a creative strategy, typically you're either late days on market, you're free and clear, you have the flexibility to do it, or you said something to me that made me think you would do it. Deliver the results, set the expectations on it, and then have the securities in place for both sides so they're able to feel comfortable saying yes. Deed in lieu of foreclosure, LLCs, trust. I personally would set up a trust and set up all these protections for the sellers so they go through with it. Last objection section here, guys. We're not going to do capital stack. I don't want to focus too much on capital stack. I feel like since I started talking about it, that's all the offers I'm seeing get sent out. I want you guys focusing on everything, not just a really complex strategy that not a lot of people are doing in terms of wholesalers, except for pretty experienced one. Sub 2 hybrid objections go. And this one's going to fall into a very similar place as seller finance. That's the easiest one to answer. Why? You'd be surprised how often why is the best question to ask. Is why. Like, tell me why. I need to know. It's like, obviously, you know what I mean? Well, the seller needs out of the mortgage. No shit. You're selling the house. You know what I mean? So like, how do I say that without sounding like a dick? They need to get a new loan. All right. Okay. I'll answer that in a second. I actually have a bona fide solution for it now, which will end up leading into a tangent. I can tell you right now, I'm going to lead straight into a tangent with this. So remember I said hybrid too. There's objections to hybrids that don't happen with subject to. And there's situations with sub 2 that makes people believe they have a hybrid situation and they don't. Donna, elaborate? I'm confused. Why wouldn't their name be on the deed? It has to be on the deed. Or are you talking about the buyer? Or why their name has to remain on the deed? So I got something for that one where you don't have to handle that as an objection. You're able to preface it before so it never is an objection. So mortgage remains my name. What if you stop making payments and I'm still liable with it being in my name? Liability and responsibility are two different things here, right? In this situation, there are different things. I am taking over your mortgage and I'm locked into, if you're setting it up correctly, a trust. No matter what, we both have to be on insurance. We have to switch insurance over. I'm explaining this to you guys so you're able to answer it confidently. I'm not saying this is the answer, right? We'll get to the answer in a second. I stopped making payments. So while you're pitching this, while you're offering this, this is why people see these objections is they don't give enough information, and a lack of information turns into worry and objections and just zero confidence in what you're offering. But if you offer it correctly, you avoid most of these objections. Smart sellers are going to ask the questions no matter what. And again, you rely on your core values, like we talked about, being transparent, being clear, setting things up correctly so you can avoid all this stuff and just come through transparently as a solution maker, not someone trying to be a con artist or come off as one. So what I'm saying is, hey, we're going to put this in a trust. For me to maintain your interest rate, I need you on the deed. We're going to put it in a trust. For me to protect you, I'm going to put a deed in lieu of foreclosure that is an agreement between you and I that says if I don't make payments within a set amount of days that you and I set up, you then are able to take the property back, right? And what you do is you schedule that out so it's way before the actual foreclosure on that property. So say in the loan documents, the original mortgage documents, it says after 4 months of missed payments, you will be notified of foreclosure. And then that foreclosure process is 3 months. I don't care about the foreclosure process. I care about those 4 months. And I need to make sure that they're set up to recover it if they have to, sue me for damages if they have to, collect whatever money they need from renters, whatever, what have you, and be able to avoid foreclosure. So I would say any late payment beyond 45 days, 60 days. In that scenario, you are going to get the property back, the trust. I'm removed from the trust. You are perfectly set and protected in this scenario. Then they're going to ask, well, how will I know if you're making payments? We're going to set up a third party processing who's going to make this look like I'm renting it from you. And in this, not only are we going to protect you and you're going to know when I make the payments and that payments are on time, that insurance is being held on the property, all the important stuff that you need to know with your mortgage, you're going to have the ability to review it, but you're also going to be able to use this as something that offsets your debt to income ratio. Now it is going to look like income, and it is income, and it's going to come off your debt to income ratio. There are multiple ways to do this. And Ryan, I saw your question, so I'm kind of answering it all within one. This is the power of having a good transaction coordinator and having someone who knows how to set these things up correctly. Now, is it more cost for the buyer? Yes, absolutely. But it is a way to protect your sellers and your buyer, actually, and allow both parties to operate way more efficiently and cleanly. So being able to set up a third-party system to manage the payments, review the payments, make sure everything is clean and in order actually removes it from the debt to income ratio, which is something that I was telling people a year ago. I was like, hey, don't say that unless you know it. And I'm still going to say, don't say that unless you know it. But with that being said, with a good transaction coordinator, with somebody operating in the ways that we operate, you guys can absolutely say that and do it. But just make sure you have that stuff in. Like if you're going to do it, talk to me, talk to a transaction coordinator, talk to somebody who understands what's going on and have them review it and confirm it before you say. They want to know why their name isn't on the deed because that will call the loan due, or why it's still on the deed. It calls the loan due. Unless we go through an actual subject to assuming the loan on paper, getting approval from the lender, which can take 45 to 60 days to do. And us being investors, we don't. I mean, you look at my my income on paper, it says very little. I wouldn't qualify. I would need a guarantor. Yes, the transaction coordinator sets that up. Mine does, at least, and she's really fucking good. I have two transaction coordinators now that they're the only two I'll work with, and they both can set it up in 3 days. They're phenomenal. Triggers that make you think they take seller fi or sub 2. Number one, length of ownership in both, or when they purchased and why they're selling. So I'm looking at motivation, and there's just certain lines I'll hear where I'm like, oh, they'd probably be open to it. Free and clear, and I want to retire. So I think about everything going on right now, and typically I would try to figure out what they did for work. Oh, you're retiring. What are they retiring from? Is it a pension job? Is it a job that doesn't have a pension? Are they close to Social Security? Are they already in Social Security? Are they aware that Medicaid's gone up? What, like 30% in the last 6 months? Like stuff like that, I need to know. I'm not going to ask, well, what's your insurance payment for medical? I'm not going to ask that. But I'm going to be looking at all these things so I can turn and say, oh, you're going to retire. All right, well, what if we can get this done in 7 years and you get monthly payments, make more, and you defer taxes? For someone in that scenario, they're going to look at it as, again, the benefits, the results, as a monthly income that they wouldn't have. They're going to be retiring. That monthly income's gone. Now they're relying on government programs, for lack of better words, to get money. Sub 2, it's, they overpaid for a price during COVID. Let's just use that as an example because it's probably the most common one. They overpaid for a price during COVID. They can't afford the mortgage payments because property taxes keep going up. That's just when you buy the house. You know what I mean? That's it. Oh, they're selling. All right, cool. Has it been used as a rental? No. All right. So, how long did they live there? Or do you know when they bought it? You know what I mean? Just kind of shimmying your way into, all right, yeah, they bought it in 2019. Oh, cool. Are they just upgrading their home? Their family grew? You know what I mean? Something like that, where it's super, super natural and innocent. But really what you're saying is, why are you leaving and when did you buy? You bought it in 2019, you're probably 5 to 10% over what it's worth right now. Property taxes have only gone up. Your PITI has only gone up. They're very likely sick of it, or circumstances in life change for the better, and they just want to sell, and they can't because they overpaid and they have a perception of value that is not realistic. So those are really just the basic questions I ask to get a trigger of yes, no. All right, well, yeah, cool. 2019, sweet, cool. Or like early 2000s purchases. I know those loans are either due or paid off. We've owned the house for 20, 25 years. All right, sweet. So like my down payment can get rid of your loan, or you don't have a loan. That instantly triggers me into, I can offer seller finance on this property. There's a lot of little tiny notes that you're going to pick up. And actually, you can look at most houses and look at like dates. Like it almost always says when it was built, and you can look at the current quality and kind of gauge the era of when it was renovated or when they did certain things on the property and get a good idea of how long the ownership's been, or what's gone into the house and just the sentimental value of it in terms of long-term ownership. Once you know it's long-term, then maybe you don't even need to ask how long they owned it. That kind of sounded redundant, but they've owned the house for years, and you look at public record, all these different things, and it's going to tell you which direction to go right then and there. Especially if you have software too, you really don't even need the trigger. Now you're just finding a way to pitch it, so you're asking questions that allows you to naturally pivot and not be too pushy on the strategy that you want to push or want to offer. So, underwriting, analyzing leads, objections, it's all going to fall under basically the same umbrella of kind of what we were just talking about, triggers, what you're looking for and how to push for it, how to pivot towards it. I like to use where really common one I've been using for seller finance, especially like I want to make sure they can do seller finance right out the gate. I love seller finance transactions. My first wholesale deal was a seller finance deal. I think it's very realistic. I think if you can pitch it the right way, people will go for it. But now having capital stacking, which I've talked about a lot, you're able to really set it up and kind of Trojan horse the whole thing where you win either way, as long as their terms work for your buyer. Where you can come and say, this is what I like to do. We like to beat the bank. Really love seller finance. Curious if you're into it. Yeah, we're into seller finance. All right, sweet. So I'm gonna send my seller finance offer, or on the phone, just tell them like, hey, this is usually where I need to be around. Oh no, they're gonna want more down. Okay, well, what if I did 30, 40% down? Would they work with me on monthly payments? Right there, you're pivoting to capital stack and they don't even notice it. They don't feel it. They just, now that agent's like, yeah, I just got them 30, 40% down. They were already cool with it. What a sucker. You know what I mean? And I had a call like 2 months ago that was exactly like that. Like the agent's like, she thought she got me. Deal didn't go through, whatever. But at the end of the day, it was very much mentality of, oh, the agent won. She feels like she won. She really didn't. We're able to actually accomplish something that our buyers wanted. If it was in a better neighborhood, it would have worked. Can't remember where I was going. My brain is cooked. Oh yeah. So you're offering what works already as seller finance. If they say yes, great. You have a very easy deal to sell. Investors love seller finance. I don't know anybody who wouldn't look at a seller finance deal, especially if the down payment and the entry are below 15%. Typically, they're going to do it. If it cash flows, you're at 15% cash on cash and your entry fees below 15%, you're very easily going to sell the deal as long as it's not in a terrible neighborhood. They say no, and then you pivot to capital stack. You're in a much better situation, subject to quickly turning into hybrid, right? Understanding your numbers, understanding how loans work, understanding all these things. And Kara, the deal you just sent me, where the guy is creating more equity in the deal than really is there. Because truthfully, we could say that house is worth 75,000 because it's not selling at 99. It likely won't sell at 90. They've dropped 20K. They have 8 saves on the property. It's in a terrible area. He doesn't have the equity he thinks he has. Just because he did renovations doesn't mean the house is worth more. The market is what dictates price. So in these scenarios, you're looking at how do I get into a place of the equity not ruining the deal? And truthfully, it should just be a sub 2 with a $20,000 down payment, and that pays out as equity and somebody takes over the loan. So you got to look at it in various situations like that where me on paper, I don't really think many people are going to go for it. I think it would be 1 out of 1,000 where you can actually get them into the mindset of, oh man, I have no equity. I need to sell this house. I just need to take 20 grand and be done with it. So handling when sellers add more equity or agents add more equity into the deal, you got to be prepared to have the conversation of the seller finance portion of the deal, the equity that they're creating, saying, hey, what if we gave you 140,000? If you're going to carry, let's make it worth that 7 to 10 years you're going to carry, but I need no interest because we're building the interest into the price. Is that something you would do? Handling an objection right there with a huge solution that actually allows you to cash flow for the next 10 years, and then you have a real chance at refinance when you need to. It's definitely something that you can pivot towards as well. And a lot of people aren't doing that because they don't understand how to structure it. And again, it's going to come down to a proper transaction coordinator writing out the contract and working with the lawyer to actually do it correctly. Which makes me think maybe we should look at that, Kara, where, hey, we give you 140K, give you a $10,000 down payment, take over your loan, and all we give you monthly is $100 or 0% interest, which would be $219. That actually almost cash flows. It's really close. It's maybe not 140, but maybe we give them 120. 120 is really close too. Yeah, that actually almost works on that. You're all good shit. So that's another scenario you can do where you could say, hey, I'll give you way more money on the back end, just not right now. I just need enough time to be able to refinance and get you out. We did that on a deal in Washington, D.C. We packed in $200,000 worth of equity that wasn't there, on top of paying ourselves $60,000, where we just packed it on top and said no payments for 7 years. And the guy took it. And he took it. He made way more money off that deal than he would have. In 7 years, he collects a $300,000 check, and right now he's in a huge scenario. I mean, he's going to make 1.5 million off of $1 million house. Everybody wins. The buyers are cash flowing like $2,500 a month, cash flow net. So really cool how you can structure those. What qualities of underwriting? Where does that affect how you guys handle objections? Do you think a lot of objection handling is more conversational skill or actually understanding how deals are structured and underwritten? Because I believe that my correlation between poor negotiation and phone skills actually directly relates to poor underwriting skills. I think if you truthfully know how to underwrite and structure creative deals, that phones and negotiation are super easy. I mean, Ryan, I think you're like a perfect like result of case study, seeing that change where once you really learned how to underwrite, your offers went from 3 a week sub 2s that you were really analyzing, trying to work on, to you really figured it out and now you're sending out like 15, 20 offers a week, no problem. as a side gig. Now I'm using Ryan as an example because I've worked with him for the last year and some change. And I saw him go from that to this. I really do think it directly correlates between, hey, I know how to underwrite. I'm more confident on the phones. I can negotiate better. I can get more offers in. So it's not one or the other. And I'll see a lot of communities and groups, who are funneling in and churning over so many new wholesalers. I'll see them be like, well, if you don't know how to call, do the underwriting and have someone be your caller. And that caller already understands the whole game. They just don't want to waste all their time underwriting. So there's a great utilization there, but it hurts that person who's only underwriting. While it does help them grow in terms of learning how to underwrite, but they're not getting the reps on the phone that they need. So it's not one or the other, it's absolutely both, and you absolutely need both to be able to get to that point of launching your actual system, launching your personal business, growing it, scaling it, and getting to a point of, hey, I'm financially independent, I'm about to start another business, I'm training people, I'm hiring, I'm going to hire a dispo team, all these other things that are so huge, like, and such big like milestones in wholesaling or real estate business. And I think that's why we see a lot of people kind of stay in steps 1, 2, and 3 and just keep repeating and repeating the process rather than actually growing a business. Where you guys have seen me pivot from just get a deal, sell it, get a deal, sell it, get a deal, sell it, to I'm like, no, dude, like you can truthfully work 15, 20 hours a week on this and make 100K a year. You can do it. That's why I started this series. That's why I am launching the website I'm launching. That's why we changed our membership style to, here's the leads, here's the call, go out, do it. Just make sure you understand underwriting and closing deals, where I'm already building the system for you. You just have to be here and use it and do it, versus good luck, Chuck, watch module 7. I hope you get a deal. If you do get a deal, I'll sell it, which is what most of these communities do, which is fine. I don't care, because a lot of people can learn enough to go and do this on their own from whichever community. But this is more foundational stuff to actually build a business, and it's stuff I wish I did, months 1 through 3, rather than figuring it out 7 months down the road. So hopefully everyone's able to save some time, build a brand, grow their skill set, whether it be negotiating, underwriting, lead classification, what have you. Does anyone here just want to stay straight up wholesaler, dispo to somebody and just keep recycling their process and making money like that? Is that how most people think of wholesaling? What are you guys thinking is like, milestone, month 6, month 10, 2.5 years? What do you guys look at it as? Like, do you want to be to a point where you're hiring people out, training them, and just having them operate your business and you manage them? Or are you just being like, hey, I just want to be on the phone, crank out deals, sell them, and just keep doing it? And I'm not asking for dreams. I'm asking for like true goals, like hiring. Not everyone is a leader. Not everyone's built to be an operator, and that's okay. So like when I ask these questions, it's okay to like look within, and if you're not that person, you're just like, dude, I work really well, small team, can crank it out, let somebody handle the important stuff in terms of dispo or what have you, and I just get deals and get them sold through the avenue, that's fine. If you don't want to manage people, it's okay to say that. I actually respect that more than a wannabe leader. Ryan, I know what you want to do already. Miles, I'm curious. Shad, I'm curious. Donna, I'm curious what your your goals are there. Dude, we have so many people in here, and I just like to be able to pronounce all your names correctly. I hate when people like spell my name wrong, so I want to be able to say your name right. Yeah. No, it's cool. Like you don't have to be a boss. And there's a lot of money in not being the boss. Like this is for me, like I'm the type person, any job I've been in, after 3 months, I'm like, I could run this better than them. It's just how my brain works. I get frustrated quickly with poor leadership or leadership who doesn't expand in a way that I think they should. When I was younger, was that arrogance? Absolutely. But now it's like, all right, no, I have the experience. I've built companies, I've sold companies, I've managed hundreds of people, I've hired thousands. I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm saying when I say this stuff. And like for me, it's like, why wouldn't I build that? I can make money along the way. That'll be good money. Like right now, I could just maintain what I'm doing and ride off into the sunset and just have a relaxing, good life and just maintain what I'm doing. But personally, it's like, dude, I could turn this into an empire. So I'm going to do that. That's my mindset. It's like, I'm going to be a leader. I'm going to hire people. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Other people, it's okay if you're not. That's a lot to chew on. And I'll tell you what, it's stressful as fuck. There's a lot of stress in it. I fortunately like stress a little bit more than I should, I think. All right. I really just want to close the deal, to be honest. So for now, I'm interested in taking more action and tightening up on my skills along the way, of course, down the line. So set milestones to that, Donna, right? So I would I would work backwards from a year. I would do milestones. I would do quarterly goals, quarter 1, 2, 3, and 4, and set those milestones and then build a weekly schedule around making sure your quarterly goal is hit and revise it and make sure that you're doing it. Have metrics that measure all of your goals or progress towards that goal and go for it. You know what I mean? Have weekly to-dos that break down into daily to-dos, and you will get 80% of the way there if you do that. If not, absolutely crush it and double your expectations. That doesn't sound like an excuse. That sounds like life. If you weren't showing up, if you weren't doing it, then it's an excuse. If you're showing up, you're getting shit done despite that stuff, it's not an excuse. It's life. Huge difference there. Switch your mentality a little bit. Give yourself a pat on the back. That's just life. Don't do that. Buy and hold at least one out of my 4 deals. Definitely want to buy and hold multifamily after closing 3 to 4 wholesale deals. Okay. I wouldn't buy a single thing if that was my mentality. Shed 3, 4 deals isn't going to buy you multifamily. It's probably actually going to give you more stress than anything. I would make your focus on closing like 40 deals and don't spend any of the money other than absolute what you need to live. Multifam's not cheap. It's not easy. It's multi-unit. There's headaches. Yeah, cool. That's fine. It's still not cheap in terms of operational expenses, right? I don't care about the loan. I'm not talking about the loan. You can get it for free. It's still not cheap. You have turnover. You have more marketing involved. You have more vacancy involved. You have more management cost, regardless of the loan, right? That's multifamily. That's why multifamily is underwritten at a higher expense cost than a single family home. Personally, if I was in your situation, I wouldn't be looking at spending any money. I would be working on underwriting. I'd be working on wholesaling. I would network to find out how to use capital stack, and I would get houses for free that are going to pay me, or try to capital stack a multifamily home and make sure it pays you at close. So you get 40 to 80 grand, let's say, at close. So then while you're learning how to manage multifam, you have money in the bank in case something bad happens that you can put back into the property, make sure everything works. You actually have an operating budget that is tax free because you're pulling it out of the equity in the property, or you're over leveraging and getting money in the property. And then I would worry about how do you maintain and how do you scale using that same process. But personally, I wouldn't 3, 4 wholesale deals, make the 40 grand, 50, 80 grand, however much you make off those deals, and then throwing it all into one place. You're keeping all your eggs in one basket, man. That's not good. That's not how you do it. Yeah. I wouldn't even pay a mentor. I just told you what to do. That's where a lot of people, you don't need somebody to make you. You don't. You're either optimizing your business through operational systems, or you're paying somebody to tell you something you already know. That's why I started offering a mentorship, because you guys don't need me to teach you. You need someone to tailor a system to your already existing operations. It's not even a mentorship, it's a service. Truthfully, it's what I do for restaurants. I go into restaurants, I analyze for a week, I retrain, and then I tell them how to fucking keep making money hand over fist. And it's always their system. It's always your system. So it's not a mentorship of you needing to learn information. You need a really good transactional coordinator. You need a wholesaler or an acquisition person who knows how to structure these deals and get sellers to say yes to it. And then you do it. And now you got 80 grand in the pocket in the property that you want, right? It is that simple. You just need a transactional coordinator. You need a transactional lender, and you need someone who can bring you the deal that you want. You do not need a mentor. You have to apply yourself. You have to be ready to learn. You have to have operational management in place. Sure. But someone telling you how to buy is a lot different than setting you up to buy. And a lot of these people don't do it. I've paid for mentorships. I've paid just to talk to people. Most of the time, it's a waste of time. And I'm saying that because you and I have spoken one-on-one privately, and I understand what's going on. And I feel like you need to hear that over me trying to sell you on something. Yeah, that's fine. So capital stack, essentially what you're doing is you're using a DSCR loan to cover the down payment and to pay you money, right? Hypothetical scenario here. Let's say we have a $100,000 property that is getting, let's say they're getting $1,750 a month in rent. So what you're doing is you're using a DSCR loan to fulfill the seller's down payment, cover closing costs and all other entry costs associated. Everything else that you skim off the top is money in the pocket, right? You're going to structure it as a trust. The seller is essentially taking second position behind the DSCR. So in these scenarios, to get paid, you have to be right in a nice sweet spot where the seller is usually taking around 30% down payment. The DSCR loan, you're typically going to set aside 4 to 5% for all entry cost other than down payment. And then everything else on top that you get approved for is money in your pocket. Where cash to buyer at close, that's money in your pocket, right? And then you're structuring the seller finance loan, the second position loan, alongside your DSCR loan, which is right here, to allow you to cash flow as close to cash flowing as you can get. Obviously, the more the better, right? So let's say in this scenario, they are taking, this number is actually going to be 70%, right? And our DSCR loan, let's say, is we're going to over leverage at 60. So this is an over leverage. You are borrowing more on the property than typically you should. This does not appear to be generating any cost. Yes, it is. Okay, cool. So we have $70,000, 30-year amortization, 0% interest. It says 194. I don't feel like that's generating correctly. 194. Yeah, it is generating correct. Wow, cool. All right. So DSCR loan amount, you are taking 60 out. You're giving the seller 30, and then closing costs are being taken from that as well. And all other entry cost, your assignment fee, if there's an assignment fee, see how it affects cash to buyer at close, how much money they take home. Closing costs, let's call it 4%. Let's say there isn't an assignment fee. Let's say you're doing this yourself, straight up. 100K, we're getting $1,750 a month in rent. We are paying DSCR loan at $60,000 at a 7% interest rate, amortization. So you have two loans stacked against each other. Monthly payment there, $399.18. Seller finance loan, you're paying $195 a month, and this money is money in the pocket. You collect the payments. All you're doing is using a DSCR loan to over leverage, pay you, take over the property. Seller finance loan is being vested in a trust, so it doesn't show up anywhere but in the trust. Only people who can see it are the buyer and seller, and you just make sure you're making all payments. End of the day, you take home $26,000 at closing, and you get to collect $474 a month for however long that you get the seller to agree to it. Does that make sense? So you go and you structure these on large deals. I mean, I'm seeing people collecting 200K at close and cash flowing a couple thousand a month because they have the lenders who will do it. Yeah, you add whatever assignment fee. My advice is you shouldn't make more than what the buyer makes at close. I've seen a lot of wholesalers try to charge most of that money, and it usually gets a negative reaction. Deal like that, it's a free house, they get paid. You're going to double your typical assignment. So if it was a cash deal at 100K, you got it 70 cents on the dollar, right? You charge 5-10 grand assignment, sure, right? On that, I would reason with the idea that you could charge 15 reasonably, and people would be like, yeah, sure. Yeah, no, just be open with them. Tell them what's going on. Tell them the whole scenario and say, hey, these deals are rare. They're unicorns. So my fee's higher. Have a good transaction coordinator. Have everything set up for them, and you can demand more. All they have to do is come in, qualify for the DSCR loan, and they're good. And the property's going to qualify based on the income. Yeah, that's cool shit. I mean, whoever you want to work with, that's fine. You got to do it, though. That's the biggest thing. You can talk about it with whoever, do whatever, but you got to get on the phones. You got to call, you got to do it. If you don't do it, nothing happens. Yeah, do that. You're great. You'll be off to a great start. You might just keep wholesaling and just really like it and say, hey, I don't need to do any of this buying stuff. That's what I did. I started wholesaling. I was like, fuck. I bought a few properties, flipped a few properties, and I'm like, I don't want to be a landlord. I can make way more money doing this. That's why I like fix and flip. People are like, yeah, I want $1,000 a month passive income. I want 1,000 units. I want to manage this, that. I'm like, all right, whatever. If I scale my flipping operations to 15 houses a year at $50,000 minimum profit, I'm making more money. Like, if I scale my operations same way you scale your operations and collecting properties, I make more money up front. And that's what I like. I like liquid capital in the bank. I don't like debt. I'm over it. I don't like headaches, management, all that. I'd rather manage a business that has upfront gains right away than long-term struggle and fluctuating values and such. There's just a lot that goes into it. A lot of management, a lot of upkeep. I'd rather do the upkeep once, sell, collect the money, and just keep recycling it. That's me. You know what I mean? If you want a multifam, I would. So what you do is you bring the strategy I'm talking about. capital stacking to this guy. I've never heard of him, but bring it to him and be like, hey, how do I do this? I want this to be the deal we do. And say, all the money we make at close, you and I split. Actually, you can keep, XYZ amount. I just want to do this type of deal. I want to do these. And no money out of your pocket, and you just keep collecting cash. That's what I would do. Because if he's a real operator, he knows what he's doing, he's a real multifam guy, he'll know this strategy, one. And two, he'll be able to show you exactly how to do it and do it with you. All right, guys, we are at 2 hours on the dot. I hope today was helpful. I'm going to try to keep these episodes to 2 hours. Yeah, shit. The website, I talked about it a little bit earlier, but there's more of you here now. I have a meeting right after this to finalize it. I'm probably going to test it over the next day or two live on the stream so you guys can see all the functions, and then we'll be releasing. Free members, for sure, you'll have access to the calculator and the resources on the platform. Paid members, subscribers get everything. You guys get everything: LOI generator, contract generator, signature service, lead gen, CRM, calculator, buyer network, able to dispo your own services, all of it. Like, all of it. So we'll have a full marketplace. You can go in, upload deals, everything. You can have your buyer network where you can put in your own buy boxes, all that stuff. So if you're already a paying member, great. You're getting a huge upgrade compared to the website we have now. If you're not, look into it. I'm obviously going to run discounts for the first few months. If you have any questions, certain features you want to see, ideas, let me know, DM me. As always, I'm open to hear it and open to apply whatever works. And then later on, so phase 2 for sure of the website will have a business and company management platform within it. And that's what I'll be looking to really expand on, where you'll have a team platform with hierarchy, accountability charts. It'll tie into the CRM. It will be able to be managed. You can manage your entire business directly on the platform rather than just having a CRM. So that weekly meeting that I always show you guys will be built into the website. It'll have a full hierarchy of your entire business, who's responsible for what, if it's just you or you have mentors, whatever, whoever's involved in your business, you'll be able to list out on there, send them to-dos, send them emails, send them appointments, whatever. And then it'll also have the whole entire meeting structure that you'll be able to go through and keep your business in the eyes of efficiency. Right? So you'll be able to write down your 10-year, 7-year, 5-year, 3-year, 1-year goals, build out your quarterly goals, build out your to-do list for the week to make sure you're always being efficient, always getting past your obstacles, and always building towards your goals. Oh yeah, the CRM's in there already. Yeah, you'll have a CRM already. So it'll be like active follow-ups, leads, pipeline, to-do list. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there. Yeah, it has a full CRM. It also has a full built-in social media as well. So you'll be able to build a profile, chat with other members in there, post your deals like as if you were posting on Facebook or something. Clearly, we don't have millions and millions of users like Facebook, but if someone's in the community on there, they'll be able to go in and basically manage and have a timeline like you would on social media. Yep, it's nuts. It's a very awesome platform, and we're only going to grow it out from here. So that's why I'm like, hey, go follow me on social media. Please, when you see me posting anything, like it and share it. I want to get in front of as many people as I can. I think this is going to be a very useful tool for anybody in real estate, not just wholesalers. So I want to get it out in front of people. Technology is great. Systems and operations make technology even better. So that's going to be the main focus here, is build the platform, show you guys how to use it, build a system and a business of your own using the platform, and then watch you guys scale and just cheer from you. I just want to be a cheerleader for the next year, where I'm just sitting here like, fuck yeah, let's go. I'm so happy this is working. That's my goal. That's it. I still got all the other real estate stuff I'm doing. Those have other goals. With Catalyst, that is my only goal. I want to become a cheerleader. So I'm pretty stoked. It's going to be good. And it's cheap as hell. $40 a month. Come on. It'll also have a leaderboard, and we'll do prize giveaways for best operators, and then you get featured on the website as well. So I'm calling it the Catalyst Titan. It'll probably be a quarterly competition. So 4 winners a year. You get the Titan status within the Discord on the website. Once you're a Titan, you're always a Titan. And it basically says you're a rock star, and then you also win prizes and giveaways and shit. So I'll be putting aside portion of the subscription money to buy like really crazy prizes, like laptops, fucking you name it. AirPods, laptops, brand new iPhones, whatever. And the goal eventually is to give away houses, where I'll go my wholesaling or my stuff will be going, getting a free house and giving it to the Titan and saying, here you go. That's way down the line, but it's definitely something we'll be doing. And then way more down the line is we'll be doing the free houses and donating them to a charity that I'll be starting for, I hope, overall just veterans and people who need help, where we use our resources, we use our platform to help others. So I'll be coming up as well. Got a lot of stuff going on. I'm excited. So all support you can, sharing, liking, commenting, fucking subscribing, all of that stuff. I know what I sound like when I say it. It doesn't even feel like me when I say it, but truthfully, I need it. I need the help, and whatever you guys can do, that'll be great. I plan to do really good things for everyone with it. I'm not going to waste anyone's time. I'm not going to scam anybody. I'm not going to do anything but just help, and that's a goal. So next year, let's be a cheerleader. Watch you guys win. Ryan, you like all my stuff already, and thank you for that. You're one of my biggest supporters. I really appreciate it. It's probably because you know I'll buy you dinner every time you come to Minnesota. Smart man. Smart man. All right, guys. Thank you so much for today. I appreciate all of you. I'll be back on tomorrow. We'll be episode 4 tomorrow. I'll figure out what we're going to cover. I've kind of just been doing it like, what do I want to talk about for 2 hours? So I'll post details for tomorrow. We'll go from there, and then we'll keep the train going. All right. I will see everyone tomorrow. Later, guys.